Chapter 60 to 61. "Whis, locate the scions from our seventh universe at once," Beerus demanded impatiently. His sole focus was to find his prophesied rival, the Super Saiyan God. He was eager to test if this person was worthy of the title God, and if he could match him in battle. "Beerus-sama, have you forgotten? The Saiyan's home planet, planet Vegeta, was obliterated by Frieza decades ago," Whis reminded him, adding, "If I recall correctly, you were the one who ordered Frieza to do so." Thinking back on it, Beerus was surprisingly petty at that time. The reason he ordered the destruction of the planet was rather trivial. King Vegeta, at that time when Beerus visited the planet, presented him with a gift, a comfortable pillow. Beerus found that gift to be inadequate, thought that King Vegeta kept quality goods for himself and gave him poor quality goods. He interpreted it as a sign of disrespect, so he directly asked Frieza to destroy the Saiyan planet, along with its inhabitants. Beerus dismissed the memory with a wave of his hand. Those Saiyans were too arrogant. Mortals who lack respect for the gods deserve to be eradicated, he declared, his voice dripping with disdain. He believed that mortals should revere the gods, and those who failed to do so, like King Vegeta, deserved their fate. Regardless, help me find any survivors. Many Saiyans were off-world on missions when Frieza destroyed planet Vegeta. Some of them might have survived, Beerus instructed. His current interest was solely in finding the Super Saiyan God. The destruction of planet Vegeta was a distant memory. He had long since forgotten about it. Whis nodded and began his search. The surviving Saiyans were quickly located: Goku, Vegeta, Raditz, and Nappa. Images of Raditz and Nappa's demise, as well as Goku's victory over Frieza, were presented to Beerus. Seeing Goku defeat Frieza surprised Beerus, as he was well aware of the Saiyans' limited combat capabilities. Despite their claims of being a warrior race, they were no match for Frieza. Only the offspring of King Vegeta had shown slightly superior abilities. TN, I also don't know why the author did not add Broly here, since he did exist in this AU. After a few minutes, Whis waved his staff, and the images vanished. Beerus-sama, the Saiyan who defeated Frieza, and Prince Vegeta are no more. Only 2 Saiyans survive. One is another prince from planet Vegeta, considered a weakling with no fighting talent. The other is a half-Saiyan boy, the son of the Saiyan who defeated Frieza, Whis reported calmly. A weakling and a half-breed. Which of them is stronger? Beerus inquired, hoping that the stronger Saiyan might know something about the Super Saiyan God. The half-Saiyan child, Son Goku's son, is stronger. He appears to have immense potential, surpassing both Son Goku and the deceased Frieza, Whis replied, his tone serious. This revelation surprised him. Frieza had been a formidable force, ruling the universe unchallenged for decades. Now a child of only a few years had the potential to surpass him. Interesting. Where is this boy now? Take me there immediately, Beerus commanded, eager to meet this Super Saiyan God. The thought of meeting this being was like an itch he couldn't scratch. He couldn't rest until he had faced this rival himself. Whis consulted his staff again before responding. He is on a remote planet called Earth in the northern galaxy. By our standards, it's a planet with primitive combat capabilities and technology. Earth, I've never heard of it. Prepare for our departure. We're heading to Earth immediately, Beerus decided. Despite his lack of interest in such a backward planet, it seemed to be his only lead to the Super Saiyan God. Very well, Beerus-sama, Whis agreed, tapping his staff lightly on the ground. In an instant, they transformed into a brilliant beam of light and disappeared. Bulma's birthday party was in full swing. Goku, having been defeated by Goten, had lost interest in fighting and was enjoying the food. As he stuffed his face with food, he remarked to Vegeta, "The food on Earth is the best. I don't want to go back to Kaio-sama's new planet." Vegeta snorted in response, not wanting to engage in conversation with Goku. Instead, he focused on eating, seemingly turning the meal into another competition with Goku. Watching Goku and Vegeta devour their food, Chi-Chi and Bulma exchanged knowing smiles. Everyone seemed to be enjoying the reunion, except for Goten, who was absent-mindedly eating skewers. Goten felt a strange sense of unease. He had a feeling that something bad was about to happen. He wondered if the god of destruction, Beerus, would show up at Bulma's birthday party, just like in the original Dragon Ball series. However, everyone else seemed oblivious to any impending danger. Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed in his mind. "Goten, can you hear me?" It was the voice of Shin. Goten frowned slightly. His intuition told him that his earlier guess was about to come true. If there was no urgent matter, Shin wouldn't contact him. "Yes, I can hear you. Kaioshin-sama, what do you need?" Goten asked, communicating telepathically. "Goten, listen carefully to every word I'm about to say. This matter may affect the fate of the Earth and even the entire Northern Galaxy." Shin's tone was grave, indicating the seriousness of the situation. This confirmed Goten's suspicion that Beerus was about to arrive. He braced himself for what was to come. Shin and Kibito were unaware of the existence of the god of destruction, or even his identity. However, the recently freed Old Kai did know about him. Whenever Beerus, the god of destruction, started destroying the planets, the Old Kai would definitely sense it. "Kaioshin-sama, if you have something to share, please do," Goten said, maintaining a polite demeanor despite being almost entirely certain of what was to come. After all, he considered Shin a friend and was willing to lend an ear to his concerns. Currently, one of the most formidable and fearsome gods in the universe is rapidly approaching the Northern Galaxy. According to Gosen Zosama's speculation, it's highly likely that he will arrive on Earth, Shin began. "This god's power is unimaginable, even for you. There exists an insurmountable gap between him and you. I understand it's difficult for you to believe and accept, but I implore you to trust my words. Do not provoke him, for if you do, the entire universe could face a catastrophic crisis. His strength is incomparable, even to that of Janemba and Majin Buu," Shin warned with utmost seriousness. These words were imparted to him by the Old Kai. Although Shin himself found it hard to believe that the so-called god of destruction Beerus could obliterate Goten in an instant, he chose to trust the words from his ancestor. After all, there was no need for the Old Kai to joke around with him. Besides, his character was relatively timid, so he would rather believe what he has heard. "It sounds serious," Goten responded. "Don't worry. Since this god is so powerful, I won't provoke him." Shin sighed in relief. "That's good. Also, please ensure to relay this information to Goku and Vegeta. Their impulsive nature could lead to trouble." Shin trusted Goten because his character was relatively calm. However, Goku and Vegeta were pure-blooded Saiyan warriors. They were known for their eagerness to battle formidable opponents. This could be seen from Goku's desire to return to Earth to fight Goten. "Okay," Goten agreed, although he was still somewhat perplexed. Despite possessing the legendary Super Saiyan bloodline and having his potential unlocked by the Old Kai, Goten was acutely aware that he was not a match for Beerus. There was likely a significant power gap between them. Just like what Shin said just now, Beerus could kill them all even without using all of his strength. So at this moment, Goten didn't particularly want to encounter Beerus and other powerful adversaries. However, he also recognized that a battle with Beerus could potentially allow him to acquire Hakaishin's abilities, such as the power of destruction. Since he owned a system, it would definitely be a profitable venture, as he could also bolt out if he was not Beerus's opponent by using Kai. This prospect left him feeling conflicted on whether to fight or not, because once Beerus was angered, let alone putting himself in danger, the entire Earth could be destroyed by Beerus. Everyone on the Earth naturally wouldn't be spared. After contemplating, Goten's brows frowned even deeper. His heart was more entangled. Opportunities and crises often coexist, but sometimes many people were afraid to bet, because the stakes were simply too high. While Goten was deep in thought, a sudden wave of intense anxiety washed over him. He felt all the hairs on his body stand on end. Though he couldn't sense any powerful aura, as he couldn't sense the presence of a god without using Ultra Instinct, he knew that they were here. He abruptly turned his head and saw two very familiar figures in mid-air, a slender purple cat and a tall, light blue-skinned man with silver hair slicked back. These were none other than the god of destruction Beerus and Angel Whis of the Seventh Universe. The moment he saw them, Goten's pupils contracted. Why had they arrived so quickly? "Oh, were we discovered so quickly?" Beerus exclaimed, looking surprised. "This looks promising." Seeing that Goten had discovered them unexpectedly, Beerus also had a look of surprise on his face. Seeing that Goten had unexpectedly discovered their presence, Beerus was taken aback. After all, among all the people present, only Goten had detected their arrival. More importantly, this kid was a mere mortal, so he shouldn't be able to sense the divine aura. His subconscious alertness to danger was commendable. This kid was indeed a master. "Indeed, Beerus-sama," Weiss exclaimed, surprised at the quick detection. "This is beyond the usual mortal vigilance." Mortals were incapable of sensing the Kai of a god, indicating that the young boy before them was extraordinarily alert. His ability to discern danger was impressive, a promising trait for mastering Ultra Instinct. Upon hearing Whis and Beerus's conversation, Goku and Vegeta reacted. They immediately set aside their food, turning their attention towards Beerus and Whis. "Huh? Who are these two? Their dress is weird," Goku scratched his head, expressing his confusion. "They remind me of Kaiosama and his companions, and I can't sense any ki from them. I've never seen them before, they must not be from Earth," Krillin stated, shaking his head. Such attire and appearance were uncommon on Earth. Everyone tried to sense the ki of the two strangers, but to no avail. Considering how they were able to get so close and unnoticed by us, these two must be incredibly powerful. Piccolo, with a furrowed brow, shared his thoughts with Goku. Dende, on the other hand, shivered uncontrollably the moment he saw Beerus and Whis. He felt an overwhelming sense of oppression, originating from the depths of his soul, which terrified him. He realized that this was the oppressive force of a realm, indicating that the two strangers were gods and high-ranking ones at that. "So that face, it's so familiar." Vegeta stared intently at Beerus. "I feel like I've seen it somewhere before." At that moment, Beerus turned to look at Vegeta. His eyes narrowed into slits, and an overwhelming sense of oppression instantly hit Vegeta. His pupils constricted, and he broke into a cold sweat. "What? That's Beerus!" Vegeta finally remembered upon seeing Beerus's eyes. This look was all too familiar, having instilled an unforgettable fear in him as a child. At the age of 5, the man before him had trampled his father like a dog. With just one look, he had completely immobilized him. The look in his eyes was identical to the one he was giving now. So, at that moment, Vegeta recognized him as the god of destruction, Beerus. "Beerus?" Goku was puzzled. "Who is that? Why haven't you mentioned this name before, Vegeta? Is he your friend?" Goku had never heard Vegeta mention the name Beerus before. And how did Vegeta come to know such a person? "Goku, if those two were Vegeta's friends, he wouldn't look so terrified." Piccolo glanced at Vegeta's terrified expression, then said to Goku, "It seems my guess was correct. These two are incredibly powerful." Vegeta's character was one of extreme pride. There weren't many beings that could instill fear in him, but the man before him had made Vegeta break into a cold sweat, with fear, just by looking at him. This was undoubtedly an opponent of unimaginable strength. He's a god, a very, very powerful god. Dende spoke to everyone in a fearful voice. In fact, everyone had already come to this conclusion. If they couldn't sense the ki of these individuals, it meant they were gods. And as Vegeta had just mentioned, the person seemed to be called Beerus. "Wow, haha. Has another strong opponent appeared? Exciting, right, Vegeta?" Goku casually said to Vegeta, his face filled with excitement. But Vegeta's expression became even grimmer. In a low voice, Vegeta cursed at Goku, "If you don't want to die, if you don't want the entire Earth to be destroyed, shut your mouth, Kakarot." Vegeta knew Beerus's power better than anyone. He could obliterate the entire Earth in an instant, and they wouldn't be able to stop Beerus at all. "Huh? Vegeta, this doesn't seem like you." Goku looked at Vegeta in surprise. This man, just like himself, usually got excited whenever he encountered a strong opponent. But what happened today? There was no excitement at all, and he seemed a bit scared. Were the two strangers who suddenly appeared that powerful? At that moment, Beerus, floating in mid-air, looked at Vegeta and spoke. "Long time no see, Prince Vegeta, but you dare to call me by my name. Do you think your life is too long?" Beerus's voice was calm, but not pretentious. At his words, Vegeta trembled with fright. Immediately he responded respectfully, "Forgive me. Beerus-sama, I lost my composure just now." Goku and the others had never seen such a respectful look from Vegeta. Even Frieza hadn't received such respect from him before. It seemed that the fear had penetrated deep into his bone marrow. Tsk, tsk, tsk. What a disappointment. Beerus shook his head, then said contemptuously, "As the prince of the warrior race, the Saiyans, have you lost your nerve?" He had thought that the current Vegeta could at least serve as a sparring partner, but it seemed he had overestimated him. Perhaps the moment Vegeta saw him, he had completely lost the courage to face him. "Hey, isn't this guy too arrogant?" Goku shook his fist, very dissatisfied with what Beerus had just said. Whoosh! At that moment, Goten's body flashed and appeared in front of Goku. He said in a low voice, "The power of Hakaishin Beerus is beyond your comprehension, so don't even dare to challenge him. We stand no chance against him." It wasn't that Goten was belittling himself, but if he wanted to protect the Earth, he must not act impulsively here. He also couldn't provoke Beerus. Goten knew very well that what Beerus hated most was mortals who lacked due respect for gods, but Beerus was quite reasonable when he was in good mood. As long as they didn't rashly provoke him, generally speaking, he wouldn't get angry. "Is he stronger than you?" Goku asked, his eyes wide with surprise. He hadn't anticipated that Goten, who was so formidable, would make such a statement. This revelation not only surprised him, but also piqued his interest even more. At that moment, Whis noticed something peculiar. He observed the halos hovering above Goku and Vegeta's heads and said to Beerus, "Beerus-sama, it appears that Goku and Vegeta have received special permissions after their demise, allowing them to return to the mortal realm. Typically, after death, only the souls of the deceased remained. However, these individuals had retained their physical forms even after death. Moreover, they had been granted the ability to return to the mortal world, a clear indication that the authorities of the other world had made an exception for them. This was a concerning development. Regardless of their contributions to the universe, the dead should remain as such. Returning to the mortal realm was a violation of universal laws. It seems those fellows responsible for the other world need to be taught a good lesson," Beerus mused. "But what I am most concerned about now is not these things. The only thing which interests me now is the Super Saiyan God." However, his primary concern was not this anomaly, but the Super Saiyan God. He had journeyed all the way to the northern galaxy for this purpose. Turning to Vegeta and Goku, he asked, "You two are Saiyans, correct? Have you ever heard of someone called Super Saiyan God?" Upon hearing Beerus's question, Vegeta and Goku exchanged puzzled glances. It was evident that they were unfamiliar with the term. "Super Saiyan God, what is that?" Goku asked Vegeta, who retorted, "How should I know? Can't you keep quiet for once, Kakarot?" "This stupid bastard, he always causes trouble. If Earth is destroyed because of this guy, even when I return to Kaio's planet, I will not spare him." Vegeta then addressed Beerus respectfully. "Beerus-sama, I must confess that I have never heard of this Super Saiyan God. However, we are familiar with the concept of a Super Saiyan. As the former prince of the Saiyans, Vegeta was well versed in his people's history, but the term Super Saiyan God was foreign to him." "Shh! So you're unaware?" Beerus sighed, disappointed. "It seems my journey here was in vain." He had traveled half an hour to this remote planet, only to find nothing of interest. It appeared that this planet's existence was unnecessary. After all, he had to leave some mark of his visit. At this point, Goten was deep in thought. He wondered if a good fight with Beerus would persuade him to abandon his plan to destroy Earth, just like in the original story. If he could manage that, he might also pick up the God of Destruction's exclusive destruction abilities. "Beerus-sama, I believe I mentioned that your dream was merely ordinary. Didn't I say that the Super Saiyan God you seek does not exist in this universe? Perhaps we should return home. The ice cream won't taste as good if it's left in the freezer for too long," Whis suggested, noticing Beerus's change in demeanor. Despite Earth's relatively primitive technology, the strength of its inhabitants was commendable. It was a planet with a high overall mortal level. Destroying it would likely cause a slight decrease in the Seventh Universe's overall level. Since I'm already here, it wouldn't be my style to leave without accomplishing anything. If the Super Saiyan God cannot be found, then this backward planet shall be destroyed, Beerus declared indifferently. To him, annihilating a planet and extinguishing hundreds of millions of lives was as mundane as eating and drinking. Upon hearing Beerus's intention to destroy Earth, everyone clenched their fists tightly. As Earth's protectors, they would never allow anyone to harm their home, regardless of how powerful the enemy might be. They were prepared to fight to the death. However, Vegeta was terrified. He was pale, knowing full well that even if they all joined forces, they stood no chance against Beerus. The overwhelming pressure he exuded was impossible to ignore. Goten was also prepared. If Beerus truly intended to destroy Earth, the only option was to fight him to the death. He was an Earth warrior, and his loved ones lived on this planet. Even in the face of the god of destruction, he would not back down. At that moment, Goku stepped forward. He looked up at Beerus with a serious expression and said, "Hey, I may not know who you are or how strong you are, but I won't allow you to casually destroy the Earth that we fought so hard to protect." Piccolo and Krillin also stepped forward, staring at Beerus resolutely. Even if he was a god, they would not allow him to destroy Earth. "Oh? A bunch of insignificant mortal bugs dare to oppose me?" Beerus sneered. In his eyes, these individuals were no more significant than bugs, easily crushed with a single hand. "You all stand back. There's a significant gap between your strength and his," Goten said, stepping forward. Their strength was indeed too weak. Beerus could easily kill them all without breaking a sweat. Such a senseless sacrifice was unnecessary. Everyone's eyes immediately focused on Goten. Without any hesitation, they all took a few steps back. They were well aware of Goten's strength. If Goten couldn't handle the god of destruction, then it would be futile for them to intervene. After everyone had retreated, Goten addressed Beerus. "Beerus-sama, are you seeking the Super Saiyan God in hopes of finding a worthy opponent? If that's the case, I'll be your opponent." "You?" Beerus cast a contemptuous glance at Goten. Although the boy was alert, how much strength could a child possibly possess? "That's right, since you're already here, there's no harm in trying," Goten affirmed, nodding firmly.